Good morning, good morning, good morning. I love the applause. This is day 5. Good morning, good morning. Let's hear the applause for day 5. Let's hear it, let's hear it. My name is Adrienne C. Smith. I am the founder of the Can Diversity Collective. Welcome to day 5 of Inkwell Beach. Expect the unexpected, moving from the woe is me to the wow is me. If you have been wowed, just say wow with me one time. 1, 2, 3. Wow. It has been incredible. We've had a day of disruption. We've had the power of partnerships. We celebrated Juneteenth, which is an information dissemination crisis problem. We celebrated mental and emotional well-being. We celebrated creativity. We have celebrated. We have changed what the flow and feel of the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity looks like. We have done the damn thing, as the young people would say. I am so excited that we are coming to a close of day 5, but it does not mean we have come to a close to the mission of making sure that we are creating more inclusive spaces for all of us to enjoy the creative energy and creative spirit. We're excited about this day of programming. While other people are leaving, we're keeping that same energy up and going, and it's so great to see all of your faces in the audience, and we are just excited and excited and excited. So coming up next, we have a panel that's sponsored by Contender, my good friend who's like, Adrienne, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm going to leave. And I said, if you don't get up here and do this. And he agreed because I made him, but he's also been an incredible sponsor. So please come on up, Rob, and your amazing panelists who have agreed to fill in the gap and stand in and bring some great thought leadership to us today on the power of Black creativity. All right, you got your mics? Have your mics? Okay, great. They should be in the chair.
Oh, it's in the chair.
Okay.
Hello, hello. How y'all feeling? It's Friday. You don't got no job? No? Okay, don't start.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to sing. It's a very interesting conversation that I have with people sometimes about Black culture. I want to talk about it a little bit, but first I want to introduce everybody, or have everybody introduce themselves. I'm Robert Clifton Jr. I always say Jr. because there's a third and an original Robert Clifton. I need to separate myself from them. I'm a Chief Creative Officer and founder of Contender, a newly launched advertising agency. And my agency is built on the power of Black creativity. We have our first 20 employees, all super talented, super smart Black people. And we know the power of that. And so that's what we're using to enter the market. Would you like to introduce?
Hello, hello. I am Liv Lewis. I am the Executive Vice President overseeing all of our client experience accounts at Igami Group. And Igami Group is actually image spelled backwards. We are an award-winning multicultural agency that really believes in helping brands achieve their purpose by connecting brands with consumers of color through culture, community, and cause. And humble brag, we are Cannes Lion winners for, not sure if you guys saw P&G's panel yesterday for the talk. That was my baby, yes. P&G is one of the sponsors, are big believers in, of course, supporting creativity. And so naturally, when Adrienne asked us to have this conversation, we were like, we're all in. So thanks for your time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Louis Williams, EVP, Head of Brand Impact at Weber Shandwick, Chicago, USA. I've been in the ad side most of my career, but recently I moved over to the PR side. Some call it the dark side, but it's not so dark. But before that, I know. But before that, I was at Burrell Communications, which is an iconic African-American agency. Nice to be here this morning.
Good morning. My name is Love Malone. I am the CEO of the Gradient Group. Prior to starting the Gradient Group, I was a global director at Ogilvy and Mather. The Gradient Group is, what we do there is we just help people get jobs in advertising and media and behind the camera. We come to a lot of events and they talk about how important it is for it to be inclusive, and then people look around and wonder why or how it can be. And usually it starts with just letting people in the door. So although there's a lot of other things that have to happen, I wanted to start with just the one thing that we knew for sure. If you want more inclusivity, more diversity, you have to hire them. And so that is the basis of why I founded The Gradient.
So let's jump right in. I believe that black culture is one of the most valuable resources on the planet, right? It influences everything. It influences fashion. It influences food. It influences sports. It influences business. And yes, it influences advertising. And you see a lot of times people grabbing things from black culture in order to infuse them into advertising. But things are best when they come from the source. We all know that. And I think you can see how a lot of brands, their creative directors, they're grabbing black talent. And you can see all of the push to get diversity in the advertising as well. So it's interesting to think about the power that culture has. And I think it really comes from, to some degree, pain, right? Not having enough and figuring out how to make something out of nothing, right? That's a very powerful thing, to be able to make something out of nothing. And I think that's what drives the creativity of black people and black culture. I can remember as a kid maybe not having enough Hot Wheel toys, and I wanted to have a convoy. And so I used playing cards. I remember my mom talking to me about all the time. I would just use playing cards, and they became cars. And so I think that was the beginning for me. I would like to ask everybody on the panel, where do they think, it first began for you as far as your creativity and when you realized you had that superpower?
For me, so I actually was born in America, but I lived about 10 years in Sierra Leone, West Africa. Shout out to, that's right. And I really had to come to an understanding that I will probably always never fit in. Because in Africa, well, I was the American, and in America, well, I'm an African. And I had to learn how to balance that. And if you think about two sides of a coin, I'm always on the edge. And I first thought that was kind of a bad thing, but I've learned now to utilize that because I have a unique perspective to a lot of different topics. And I bring that wholeheartedly to what I currently do now. My background is I do come from a more general market shop, and working in multicultural marketing, I didn't realize that some of those experiences back in Africa and the transitioning and learning how to fit in would help propel me in thinking about some of the counsel that I'm now providing for some of our clients across a lot of different campaigns. So I would say that experience helped me, and that was probably my starting point in understanding creativity can come from your lived experience and can come from different places.
That's kind of interesting, Rob. I didn't know I had a superpower until I was a grown-ass man, because you don't know. You have it, but you don't know you have it. There's nobody in the community telling you, recognize it. But I do remember school teachers, people in my church. And a quick story, my mother passed away, and I was going through her stuff, and I saw this church program that I drew the picture of the church, and it was bad. It was horrible. But I go back, and I remember all the people at my church telling me how great it was. So then I go back and start revisiting those moments of my art teacher, my school teacher, my science teacher. And I go like, oh, I had a superpower. You know what I mean? So it was kind of late developing of my awareness, but so often as black people, we have that power. Just like my friend Nelson George, he was the producer of Dear Mama for Tupac. Everybody's seen that. And I asked him, what is the definition of hip hop? He says, Louis, to your point, it was a bunch of kids doing something with nothing. Sometimes you have the creativity, and you don't even know you have it.
I love that.
Yeah. So he brought up church. Did I think I was creative? Definitely. My mom was a choir director, and I remember I was 12 or 13, and they have everyone come up to sing. My name's, everyone calls me Love Malone, so you would think I can sing or dance or something. And my mom's like, I think you should go back there with your grandmother and usher. So I realized I wasn't going to be singing. So I wouldn't say that wasn't the start of my creativity. But later in life, I kind of really got into understanding strategy and really liking to solve problems that were in a creative way. So it took a minute for me to do it, and it was really through physics and science. So it was an odd way that I came around to creativity because it was a science teacher that told me that I was creative.
So there's, I'll just jump right into this. There's a lot of talk about AI, right? It's all over the place, and a lot of people are afraid that it's, going to take over, right? They have it writing songs and books and things of that nature. I'm personally not worried because I understand the power of Black creativity, and again, making something out of nothing. I'm curious to know, what's your point of view on AI? I know at Contender, we're about combining the power of data and the influence of culture, so we use both together in order to come to what I think is the ultimate power. But I'm curious to know how you feel about AI. I mean, we use it to do things faster, like create boards or, follow trends. But I think when it comes to creating trends and things of that nature, again, there's really no match for Black culture.
I ain't worried. You guys, what's interesting, I think about, remember Twitter? Then all of a sudden, Black Twitter. Oh, shit. Remember TikTok? I remember the time that the influencers got mad at TikTok and said, we made TikTok. So bringing on AI is going to be interesting what we do with AI, because AI, you have to prompt it. So you can have the technology until you tell it, say what to put in it. And Rob, when we start putting Black culture in AI, then we're going to see where AI is. Now, what scares me is what people may be doing it to work against us. That's my biggest fear. But what we do with it, we've always, once again, make something out of nothing. We also can make something out of something.
So I want to jump up and down. I'm excited about AI. AI is, right now everyone's talking about it. It's probably the number one thing that's being talked about here at Cannes. There's everything that is in the creative, from creating images to writing full scripts and press releases. It's stepping all over advertising and media. The reason why I'm getting excited about it, I tell people, I was told, Will.i.am had mentioned something about a calculator. He was like, can you imagine someone telling someone that's doing math, or anybody today, you don't need to use that, just, write it all out. If you're looking at AI, I'm looking at AI as like our new calculator in creativity. What scares me is, as people of color, I don't want us to be last. Because right now, there's a lot of people that are up there figuring out AI. I can tell you, I've already taken 2 classes on prompting. I've never been good at taking pictures. Anyone will tell you I'm terrible at it. Even with the phone with my phone becoming a camera, I still suck at it. But with AI, I'm taking the time to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can, and passing on as much information to people. I think as creators, we can be afraid of it, and we can even say this is going to take jobs, because that's what people are focused on right now. I'm going to let you know we're going to create a lot of jobs as well. Right now, if you go onto LinkedIn, there are a couple of classes on prompting engineering. Now, if you don't know how to write a prompt, you probably need to, instead of deciding that you are worried about AI taking your job, you need to learn how to use it so you can use it with your job, because it's coming. So there's no reason to not try to take it, take advantage of it, and quickly, people.
I'm on the same page. I'm excited about it. I started, went to a conference for communicators and PR, the dark side. A lot of our job is writing, and writing well, and crafting a narrative and talk points. It's just gotten us sharper. I'm not afraid of the future. We're embracing it. It's just being wise about what you're putting out in that ecosystem that's not necessarily confidential information, but it's one of the things I understand about the technology is you still need a human person to prompt it. So as soon as you learn how to prompt carefully with intelligence, with cultural competency, with humanity, it's fun to watch and see what it's like, oh, this first draft is kind of good. Like, all right. And then you now take that first draft and you make it your own. But I think it's incredible what we're seeing in this space, and we're welcoming it. And we're definitely going to put some hot sauce on it for sure. For sure.
So probably the last thing we'll talk about, and it came out of a conversation I had with somebody here. That's the great part about coming down here and interacting with so many smart people. You get into these conversations, you come up with all these different concepts and different thoughts about how things can work, right? And you think about all of the power, the collective power, and pulling it together in order to try to change things. And you think about the power of creativity to shape, business, but also shape people's minds and change things. You see campaigns about, whether it's to wear your seatbelt or, gender equity or things of that nature. We understand the power of creativity and what it can do. And we've all taken our Black creativity. Everybody's dressed very nice up here, so I think, you use it to take care of yourself, take care of your family, create some of the change that you want to do. We use that power. I had a conversation where we started talking about if, Black culture is the most powerful resource, and then we are the ones that make it, the people who are of, from, and for the culture, then if we can get the proper value for what we give to culture and how it's used to drive business, I think we can shift some of the things like equity and wealth and things of that nature, right? Because if we're creating the culture and we get the value for it, then that kind of shifts it, if you will, not by asking, but by taking it. And so I'm very interested in the future and how that will work. And what do you think about Black creativity's ability to shift the world in different ways, and in particular when it comes to, things like generational wealth, right? We've all created organizations, and whether you're rising to the top of yours or you created your own, that begins to change things in, reference to wealth.
Did you see the post by Snoop Dogg when he was questioning streaming? And Snoop was like, I can't say all the things that Snoop said, but Snoop said basically he doesn't get it when you stream 100 million songs and I get $10. You know what I mean? So that's, again, about understanding our wealth, our creativity, and how creativity relates to business. You know what I mean? So we do have something valuable.
I think, well, I always follow the money because I like it. So I don't want to ever not know where the money is and where it's available. I think with creativity and all the new, we were talking about AI, we need to start to look at how they're going to be using AI in some of these new things, and what you own, what you're licensing, how much, credit you get for things. It'll be interesting how things kind of develop in the next few years. I know people are saying, well, a lot of large companies right now are saying they don't want people to use, AI because they're scared that someone's going to come back to say who owns what and who does what. I think that, again, the looking for money, I don't know if you want to stick with AI or you're just talking about in general creativity. I'm just on AI right now, but we need to figure out, and I guess I'm going to use music as an example with the DJs. I think as Calvin Harris was one of the top artists, but he didn't actually create anything. He actually used other pieces of work. And I think that's kind of how AI will look at money. So again, if you're looking at finding money in AI, you can, at this point, start to create things and own them. And we just got to start to figure out who owns what, how do you keep your money? And I really want people of color to look at that, because typically we'll start doing that, we'll start setting trends, and then all of a sudden we make no money on it. So AI is new. If there are ways to make money, we probably need to make sure that we're latching on to that versus complaining about it later because we missed out on those opportunities.
And I'll close. I think when I think about creators, when I think about individuals starting out on their journey, I think there is a opportunity to ask, be curious. So one, be curious, understand what you're getting yourself into. If you want to be a creator, I would say also to ask individuals along the journey for best practices. I will also say that as you continue to grow and you're working with brands, you have to learn how to read the contracts. In perpetuity means forever, right? And so if you're not understanding that a brand or entity owns that, then you're locked in something. You're not going to get the funds or the payments. And I also think you have to surround yourself with teams. You're a creator, but you don't know legal. You don't know how to build a business. You don't know how to understand money. And I get it, right? Because like I'm a creator, I'm trying to keep all this money for myself. But in order to grow and to grow fast, you have to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who are experts within the space to be able to grow financially, to be able to set generational wealth. I think be curious. I think you talk about when we approach a brief. So a client has a problem, they write a brief and they send it to us, and we ask ourselves why 7 times. I challenge you guys, ask why 7 times to identify a insight, a problem, or something to solve. I think that'll help a lot. So with that, you want to wrap?
Yes, and I think that's a perfect place because it talks about partnership and everybody, figuring out how to help each other and work together and take their particular skills, put them together, and change the world. So thank you. Thanks to all my panelists, and thanks for everybody out there for all that you contribute to the culture. Again, for the people that are from, of, and for the culture. Let's go out and let's get it.
Let's
Thank you.
get it.